You can't live your life feeding off of the crumbs from someone else's feast. At some point, you have to get to know God for yourself. Hey everyone, hey, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing well. My name is Michelle and I want to welcome you all to The Pipeline with Michelle. So if you don't know, I have a website called thepipelineblogs.com. You can go on there and read some articles. Definitely peruse the website, get to know me, and also too, feel free to check out the rest of my videos on my channel and like, comment, and subscribe on them. Okay, so today's topic is very interesting. Today's topic is intentional opposition. So sometimes in life, we can feel like things are happening to us back to back to back. It seems like it's one thing after the other. It seems like we are facing a series of insurmountable hurdles and we're kind of like, God, where are you? It can seem as though like as soon as we make some progress, something happens and it sets us back. It would make us wonder, ponder, speculate. God, are you really working on my behalf? Are you really for me and not against me? Is this all you? Are you doing this to me? Like, we can have all of those thoughts. Though he is not the creator of calamity, he is sovereign and he is Lord over all. God, in his infinite wisdom and sovereignty, allows certain things to happen to us with the intention of pruning us, shaping us, and developing us into the people who he has called us to be. And sometimes he allows you to go through certain things, not just for you, but for also the people around you as well. So we're going to look at the case of Job. So Job was someone in the Bible. There's a whole book about Job and his situation. This man loved God with everything in him. He was a righteous, upstanding man, and he was a very blessed man because of how righteous and upstanding he was. His children were blessed. He was blessed. His wife was blessed. He was very wealthy. All that he did, God blessed the work of his hands. So let's just go ahead and just read a little bit. So I'm reading from Job chapter 1. I'm starting at verse 6. Now there is a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came up among them. The Lord said to Satan, "From where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, and he said, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down on it." And the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil?" Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "Does Job fear God for no reason? Have you not put a hedge of protection around him and his house and all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands and his possessions and have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face." And the Lord said to Satan, "Behold, all that he has is in your hand. Only against him do not stretch your hand." So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. So basically, Satan acts to try Job because he feels that Job only loves God because of what God has blessed him with. So Satan is basically saying that, well, the only reason Job is riding for you like this is because you have blessed him. Take away all that you blessed him with, I bet you he'll curse you to your face. And God's like, all right, bet. Go ahead and do it. Only thing, don't touch him. So right then and there, one thing you also can notice is that Satan is subject to God's power. Satan can only do to you what God would allow him to do. And so you might even ask yourself, God, why would you even allow Satan to do things to me? Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. I also want you to notice that God said to Satan, "Consider my servant Job." Sometimes you're not being attacked. Sometimes you're just being considered. And I heard a pastor say that. And I also heard another pastor say that a lot of people can be trusted with wealth. A lot of people can be trusted with money. A lot of people can be trusted with resources. And people often ask God and pray for those things as well. But not a lot of people can be trusted with trouble. Not a lot of people can be trusted with walking through suffering. And the Bible talks about how that we're all going to suffer in some way, shape, or form, because if Christ suffered, we should expect to suffer as well. Not all people can be trusted with suffering. A lot of people have experienced the slightest bit of trouble or tribulation and just ran off and just like have been like, you know what, God, I quit this whole God thing. It ain't for me. It's not working out. But the people who can be trusted with going through things, experiencing things, um, going through hardship and heartache, and still choose God and still choose to serve Him, even though it's difficult, you have to consider the fact that you are trusted with this trial. You are trusted with this issue. And you have been leaning on God's grace to get you through it. And all you have to do is continue to lean upon His grace, and He will get you to the finish line. But that's an aside. Let's get back to our topic. So, in all that Job experienced, his family died. He was sick. He lost all his wealth. Everything really just spontaneously combusted right before his eyes. Everything really just blew up, like literally, like right before his eyes. So, in all that suffering, he expressed anger. He expressed grief. He expressed sorrow. He expressed pain. But he never questioned God or His sovereignty. He never questioned God and His just nature. So when it was all over and he was able to go to God and express certain things to God, Job and God had kind of this back and forth. And God was, Job had some questions. Job had some questions like, what's going on? Why did all this happen? And funny enough, God never gave him a direct answer per se. Instead, He asked him questions that Job could have no answer to. And those questions that God asked him spoke of God's sovereignty, of His might, and of His wisdom. So I encourage you all to just go ahead and read those last chapters of Job. Specifically, one of my favorites, I think, would be chapter 39. So go ahead and read those, and you'll just be astounded by the beautiful things written in there. And it makes you think about, if God can control all this and so much, how is He not mindful of me and my circumstances, and that He knows what I'm going through and knows what you're going through as well. So back to the topic. I keep going on these little diversions, but this is one of the most interesting books in the Bible to me. So back to our topic. So we're going to Job 42 we're going to Job 42 verse. I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes see you. So Job has been serving God. God has blessed him tremendously. And he, has said, wow, like I've heard of you. I intook what I heard. I lived by your principles, but now I see God for myself. Now I have my own personal example of how mighty and how good God is after going through all the things that I went through. You can't live your life feeding off of the crumbs from someone else's feast. At some point, you have to get to know God for yourself. You cannot base your knowledge of God on your friends, your family, your relatives, TV, social media. You have to seek God for yourself. It says in Jeremiah 29:13, and I'm paraphrasing, "For those who seek me with their whole heart will find me." And this is something that I had to do. I grew up in church. My family, we went to church very often. A lot of my family members, we'd go to church, we'd have prayer meetings, things like that. But God never really became real to me until I made it a point to seek Him for myself. I could have just, absorbed what I knew about God from everyone else and what they would say. But until I made a point to experience God for myself, that's when He became real to me. Not just what my grandma said, not what my aunt and uncle said, not what my parents said, but I know because I have seen God for myself. I have seen God do things for me. I have seen God change me. I have seen God heal me from all types of childhood trauma and wounds. Like I have seen God do some amazing things. So no one can ever tell me that God isn't real. And even when I am going through something, I have a history with God that I can pull on. So when it comes to opposition, sometimes the opposition is for you, for your character building, for your development, for your understanding and deepening of your knowledge of God. It's for you to have your own personal testimony. It's for you to have your own eyewitness account of how great God is. If you've ever been to court, or if you love watching court TV shows like I do, you would know that one of the most powerful forms of evidence is an eyewitness account. If I saw someone steal a car and I'm like, hey, that guy's still in the car, and they eventually get arrested, they go to court, they bring me in as a witness, and they say, Michelle, is that the guy who stole the car? And I'm like, yes, that's the guy who stole the car. I saw him do it. I was there. You can't really refute that evidence, right? You can't really argue against that. Like, even as, the cross examiner, what would you say? Did you really see him? And I would just be like, yeah, I really saw him. So with that, when you have your own personal account, when you have actually seen God, like what Job said, my ears have heard of you, but now my eyes see you. You have your own irrefutable evidence, right? The enemy cannot come into your mind and make you think otherwise, because you know what you saw. You know what God did. You know what he said. You know what the situation looked like and what it looks like now. So you have your own irrefutable evidence that you can lean on, that you can pull on, and that you can remember when times are getting difficult. And even through this difficult circumstance, God is using it to shape you and mold you and give you a testimony. And when you tell that testimony to other people, they will be like, wow, like God is really real. Like, I have an example. So a couple years ago, I was, looking for a new job, and there was months of me applying to different places. Nothing was really working out. And then out the blue, this woman contacted me on LinkedIn. At that point, I kind of gave up, but she contacted me on LinkedIn, set up an interview with the company. I got the job. It was a huge pay raise. And I left, that old company to go to that new company. Well, 2 weeks after me leaving that old job to go to my new job, a department at my old job got laid off. I'm talking about 120 people just got laid off. And I narrowly missed it by accepting that new job offer. You cannot tell me that was not God. You cannot tell me that was not God. And I had just bought a house at that point too. And I was trying to figure out, God, like, how am I going to pay this mortgage, all these other bills? But God worked everything out to the point where I had a job where it covered everything and then some. So in conclusion, sometimes it's just about you having evidence. So to wrap up that point, sometimes it's about your development, it's about your bettering, and for you to know and for you to see God for yourself.